A recent court ruling has left people in Oregon outraged by ordering a family's dogs to undergo a controversial procedure to silence them.
There's nothing quite like coming home to man's best friend. They're loving, playful, and sometimes can be a bit loud. So what do you do when you can't make your furry friend be quiet? That's what one Oregon couple has to meet head on. The owners of Tibetan Mastiffs say their dogs actually protect the family's other animals from predators, and after years of legal battles are now ordered to devocalize their dogs.
And joining us to discuss this is veterinarian Dr. Karen Halligan. Obviously, people are emotionally invested in this. I could hear from the reaction of the audience, people are upset hearing that the dogs would have to be devocalized. Tell us about this procedure. Tell us your opinion as a vet on this case.
Well, I'm horrified. I don't think that an animal should have their vocal cords cut, which is what the procedure is. I've been a vet for 28 years. I've been asked to do the procedure, and I said no. I mean, 20 years ago, they were going in through the oral cavity. Some of the dogs died. Now they have boarded surgeons. I did talk to a boarded surgeon about this, and he said, I will reluctantly do it if it's the last case scenario for the dog. And then they go in ventrally, but they're actually cutting the dog's vocal cords, the nerves. And the problem is there's so many complications. It's such an unnatural surgery.
Does that affect their ability to breathe?
It does.
Well,
very good point. That's a big complication.
You go messing with the vocal cords, you're setting up, you may obstruct the airway, you may have aspiration issues, you can't control things from going down the air tube. I mean, there are potentially life-threatening conditions that can occur as a result of messing with the vocal cords, whether you're actually cutting the cords or cutting the nerves to the cords.
So let's acknowledge a difficult situation here. I'm sure anyone in this audience or anyone watching at home has had a scenario where there is a dog in the neighborhood that barks incessantly. You can't sleep, your child can't sleep, and when no one can sleep, everyone gets angry. And it's an unfortunate circumstance because you can't just say, hey, dog,
well, what are the
stop barking. So what could you do?
Well, I can tell you guys, all right? They have collars. They're called static bark collars. And I've used them on the obnoxious dog. I've put them on my own neck, and they stop the dogs from barking.
They work.
Yes, they absolutely.
They don't always work, though.
Well, the
in
fairness, they
don't always turn up the juice.
So it's actually like a little shock when the dog barks.
Yeah, but not every dog obeys the bark collar.
Well, no, I've had very good results, and you turn up the volume. Plus, you also have to think of the dog. Is he barking because he's not getting enough attention or enough exercise? You know, most people get a dog, they don't realize you have to spend energy on them. You have to stimulate them emotionally and physically.
What legally is the recourse here?
This is a really interesting case. People sue their neighbors all the time, unfortunately, for what's called public nuisance. And in this case, these dogs were making so much noise, the neighbors have been in court for almost a decade, if not more. And there was a trial. There were damages awarded to the plaintiffs that brought the lawsuit. And according to the plaintiffs, and there's a lot of back and forth about the facts, but apparently there was some option to move the dogs off the property, and that the surgical procedure was the suggestion of the dog owners. Now, there's a lot of back and forth about this, so we don't know what happened factually, but the good news is 2 states, it's illegal to do this to dogs, and there's some other states that are considering legislation to make this practice illegal. I think this judge went way too far. The money damage is okay, we all see that happens in civil cases, but to have an invasive surgical procedure was just too far, and hopefully this doesn't happen to anyone else's dog.
Can you train a dog to bark less? Let's just say bark collars haven't been cutting the mustard. Is there a way to help train that out of a dog?
It's called behavior modification. When the dog's quiet, you give it a treat, love it. When it barks, you ignore it. Yes, you can train the dogs. I don't feel like they've done a whole lot of work with the dogs because they're on a farm. And I think that, you know, you're looking at the dog's point of view, you know, to have to go mutilate it like that because they haven't tried other ways to stop it from barking, even rehoming the dog.